video. So today I have a newborn session with a little boy, and his sibling, like his older sister, is 1 year old. So I'm gonna try and take photos of the kids together and of course of the newborn alone. So here you see the colors. We are going for like earthy tones, very basic to start with. I got some wraps here. We've got the flocati, and then in the back the dark wood. I actually have a new welcome sign. I want to place it probably like up there instead of that canvas, even though I love those canvases together. Or I need to get another like nail in the wall, or like a sticker. The only downside is that I did it the wrong way around, so I have to change around all the letters. But besides that, it's a very cool new sign. Okay, so in this video I want to talk a little bit about like your focal distance and how it can distort a little bit. So yeah, in the newborn shoot I'm going to show you a similar photo in a similar pose, but taken at different focal lengths. So zoomed in at 70mm, zoomed out at 35mm, and then somewhere halfway around 50mm. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about focal length distortion. You could say that images taken with a wider lens from a close distance are distorted. This means that you're actually talking about perspective, because there's only one thing that determines perspective, and that is distance. So it's not exactly the camera, it's not the lens or focal length, it's the distance. So whatever is closest to the lens appears larger, and objects further from the lens appear smaller. So this means that if you shoot at eye level, so yeah, for example, you shoot a person at eye level, what body part of the subject is closest to the lens and what is, the furthest from the lens. So usually the head is closest to the lens, especially when shooting newborns. And that means that the head will appear larger than the feet. So what focal length should you use? Very general terms, a 50mm focal length on a full frame body, which is about 35mm on a cropped sensor, is the normal perspective. It's similar to what the human eye sees. So yeah, my lens is the 24 to 70mm lens, aperture 2.8. Making this video has actually been really interesting to me as well. This question has been asked and I couldn't really give the answer, because when I'm shooting a newborn, I don't really pay much attention to my focal length. It goes kind of like automatically for me. So I take my photos from the top, from the front, some detail shots, and I zoom in and I zoom out, and I do the same with the family photos and the sibling photos. I want to have it framed nicely in my camera. But when I'm photographing newborns, I really don't pay a lot of attention to my focal length. And I thought I was always photographing around 50mm, but actually I see that in my photos I go more towards the 24mm, usually around 29, 35, so around 30mm. I really like those photos. So with the photo that I was comparing, like the head on hands pose, I did play around a little bit taking photos at different focal lengths, but I didn't really look at those until I started editing the video. But I already edited all the images for the parents, and I mean, they already have their images. And the one that I actually picked from the head on hands pose, the one that appealed the most to me, which I liked the most, was taken at 29mm, so not around 50, which I thought I was using. So that's interesting. I am sitting really close to the newborn. I have the Paloma shell, like the stand that I'm using, pretty much in between my legs. So I'm not that far away from the newborn. So if I zoom in at 70mm, I don't really have any backdrop around the baby. And then I'm still moving back, like my body back. If I'm just sitting straight on the beanbag with the Paloma shell, in between my legs kind of, I can keep my hands on the baby. I can support the baby while taking the photos because my hands are that close to the baby. And then apparently I zoom out a lot more to get the baby beautiful in the frame with some backdrop around it. And I really like that perspective as well. So there might be some distortion. The head might appear a little bit bigger than it is, but isn't the head like the cutest part of the baby anyway? The part that you want to have in focus, and then the feet are like a little bit blurry anyway. So to me, it's not that big of a deal that the head might appear a little bit bigger in the photos. Of course, like I'm not going for like an 18mm wide angle. But I actually like this distortion a little bit, but that might just be my personal opinion, so please don't attack me in the comments. This is me just sharing some of my thoughts and ideas. I'm not an expert. So yeah, at least now you see all my focal distances. And of course, like in the head on hands pose, the head is a lot closer towards the camera than the feet. So that's when you really see the distortion. When the baby is lying on, you know, when you have like the bum up pose, where you're taking the photo pretty much from the side, so the face and the bum and the feet are like pretty much the same distance from the camera, you don't really notice this distortion as much because nothing is really far behind your first focal point, which is a lot closer to the camera. So I hope that kind of makes sense. But I'm just going to show you some photos, and in the screen I'm going to show you the focal length that I took the photo at. But yeah, so I used a 24 to 70mm lens. I could also say maybe if you want to buy one lens and you want to buy a prime lens, maybe the 50mm lens. For example, aperture 1.4 would be amazing. I heard the Sigma Art is pretty good, and I'm actually maybe debating buying that one to test it out. But for now, I really like my 24 to 70mm lens. You do see a difference in the clearness or blurriness of the background. Yeah, halfway we changed to like a darker backdrop. I'm gonna show you up close what it looks like. And yeah, we used, well, not the purple one, but this one for the sibling photos together, some wraps. And we used the white flocati for the sibling photos. And I used the felted leaf as well with some green tones. I'll put some of the things of where I got them in the description for you to see. And then we're gonna clean up this mess and go home. Let me know, do you use a prime lens, so with a fixed focal length, or do you use a zoom lens like me? So thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and then I'd love to read your comments.